Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Brandon Shank, and welcome to the Brandon Shank Podcast. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Brandon Shank Podcast. Great to be with you here on this beautiful day in September here in Virginia Beach. We, as always, got Corey in the corner. What's up, big dog?
What's up, man?
Hey, big weekend. College football started. I think to start the show, we should just jump right in. Take a quick breeze over of how accurate we were with our predictions last weekend. And really the boldest prediction came from Corey, the Florida State LSU game. I believe you picked Florida State by 3. Is that correct?
I did.
Yeah, and they won by a lot more than 3. So congratulations. Okay.
That's good.
You might have a career in this.
Sure.
I listened back to the predictions, and I remember we talked about Florida and Utah. We talked about North Carolina, South Carolina. We talked about Florida State LSU. Talked about Colorado, TCU. And what I can say is, as I listened back, I realized I did not make a lot of predictions. I talked about how the SEC, middle SEC teams could be ranked. Never really talked about Florida, Utah. I said, well, I think Florida's going to win, but you just never know. So there's no prediction there.
Yeah.
I talked about North and South Carolina, and I said, it's SEC, but North Carolina, blah, blah. North Carolina beat them. Like, once again, no real prediction. But there was one prediction that I made.
Yeah.
Very clear. And it was Colorado over TCU. The upset of the weekend. Colorado is the hottest team in college football right now. Deion, I believe from the beginning, and I believe I even mentioned the fact that on-fire quarterback for Colorado could be a Heisman. Not only him, but Travis Hunter, the two-way player, corner, and receiver is another. They have 2 guys on their team that could possibly win the Heisman. I'm just saying. I saw it from the beginning, and I just want to let every listener know. And when Deion stumbles across this, I want him to know we believed here at the Brandon Shank Podcast.
I love it.
Long before everybody else. Did you see Deion's press conference after they won?
I did not.
He started calling out reporters. He said, you believe now? You believe now? And one reporter tweeted, since when do the reporters have to believe? Oh, man, it's going to be a sticky season, but I love it. I love it, man. But, hey, listen, I've got 3 for this weekend. We got number 3, the biggest game of the weekend, number 3, Alabama versus number 11, Texas, and Nebraska at number 22, Colorado. Now, I'm going to go on a limb here. Alabama at Texas. I'm going to say Alabama, number 3, by a lot over number 11, Texas. What you got, Corey?
That sounds good.
You with me?
I'm with you.
All right. I'm going to say Nebraska at Colorado. I think this is going to be another beating. I think number 22, Colorado, is going to continue to thrash their opponents. I think Nebraska is going to come in, get a whooping, and go back out. Yeah. That's my prediction.
Okay.
You like that one?
Sure.
NFL kicks off Thursday. Detroit at Kansas City. I'm all over Kansas City. I mean, Detroit, it's a good story.
Yeah.
I grew up a diehard Barry Sanders fan, big Detroit fan. I just think Patrick Mahomes, I think he just sends them back.
Sure. Yeah.
We're still the Chiefs.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
And I think the Chiefs probably win it all again. I hope that's not true. But I don't know. The Commanders, you never know. Sam Howell, let's go, baby. Sam Howell, let's go. And then, the big game is the Bills and Jets on Monday night. Aaron Rodgers facing Josh Allen, the Bills. I think that Aaron Rodgers and the Jets get beat again by a really good Bills team. So everybody's talking about the Jets all of a sudden. It's just you got to be clear through the lineup here. Coaching, players, ownership. I'm not saying they don't have what it takes, but I'm saying the Bills have more of what it takes. So I don't think the Jets are going to be in that conversation. Again, I could be completely off. That's why analysts get paid millions to be wrong. They're like weathermen. You can only predict so much, and the rest you just got to let fate take its course.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, anyway, so that's our predictions. So coming in hot. Those were very clear predictions this weekend for everybody who's wondering. So, I celebrated my birthday on Monday, 41, and
happy birthday. No,
thank
I'm not
you,
gonna
brother.
do the whole thing. You're welcome.
Hey, let it serenade all of our listeners. Come on, man.
We did that on Sunday, man. There's a nice clip of it on
It was
your
beautiful.
Instagram. It was beautiful.
Isaiah,
man.
loved. You guys,
voice of an angel.
Yeah, it really is. He really does have a voice of an angel. So I was golfing with my buddies, and I had this epiphany, and I would just like you to think about this conversation, this concept. It's summertime, or it's September. Snakes are out. They ain't hibernating yet. And, I mean, I've been on golf courses where I have seen snakes multiple times. I've seen them slither across greens. I've seen them in woods. I've seen king snakes, 6 feet long, coiled up in the woods. I don't play like that. When it comes to golf, I never go in the woods to get my ball unless I can see it and it's a clear path, ever.
Yeah.
Because usually around the golf course, just tall grass, and I just don't play like that. I'm like, man, I'll drop and take a stroke. I don't care. So there's this one par 5 that we were on, and it's a really hard par 5. One of my buddies put one in the weeds. Now, it wasn't far in the weeds. Maybe, I don't even know. We never found it. Maybe 6 feet. But the weeds are like knee high. And I get over there with him, and I was like, bro, you going in there? He's like, no. I was like, dude, I wouldn't go in there for nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why take the chance? Does it really matter? Because I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
And I saw a bunch of high weeds trampled down. Like 3/4 of the weeds are you can tell they've been stepped on.
Yeah.
And then I thought about this. How many golfers out there are playing for $5,000 purse? Or how many really care that much? You're digging through high weeds in September to find your little ball. Why not just take the stroke? How much money are you actually playing for?
Yeah.
And it's funny to me because when you golf, some dudes go out there and they have a great time and they enjoy themselves and they're good golfers. And then other guys go out there and they're cool guys, but they are like, we're on the PGA. Like you move that leaf and it touches your ball and your ball moves a tiny bit. It's a stroke, which however you want to play is fine. But it's amazing to me the amount of people that are willing to go stomp through high weeds. And I mean, dude, I'll tell you somebody who finds golf balls better than anybody's buddy.
Oh, for sure.
Buddy,
yeah.
He will go look for his ball and not find it and come out with 5.
Yeah. Well, that's part of like his golf mission. Is that if I can leave this golf course with more golf balls than I came with,
then it's success.
It's a good day. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, all that to say, I just was amazed. So all you golfers out there that you're stomping down tall weeds, just don't do it. Say, I never got bit. Well, you know what? Your time's coming. And it's just not worth it. So that's a bit of advice today from the Branch Shank podcast that I hope will change your life. Maybe it won't. For me, I just hit in the fairway, so I don't need to step in the weeds.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I didn't golf great, but I wasn't in the weeds, which is good. I hit the water twice. But other than that, water, you don't mess with it. But
no.
So anyway, just a thought. Just a thought. Just a simple thought today.
Yeah, I like it.
Let's start off. We got a special You Asked For It today, so let's roll that. Oh, you were on it.
Nailed it.
Don't blame me. You asked for it.
All right, we're doing a special You Asked For It today, and we said, what is the one item in your house that you can't go without, that you think every home should have? Now, this could cover anything. Now, you can go with the basic utilities. You could go with a particular plant that you feel brings life to your life. You could go with a light bulb because they're a necessity. You could go with a toothbrush. You go with whatever. So today, Corey and I brought an item that we want to talk about, and we will talk about it for 99% of our listeners listen online or listen without seeing our beautiful faces, which really is to their chagrin. But so Corey, what do you got?
All right, so this has been this is a purchase that we made probably about a month ago, and I kind of had to force my wife's hand on this purchase.
Can I guess?
You can guess.
Well, can I get 3 hints?
Or
just 1 hint?
Okay, just 1 hint. It's a machine that produces a product.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I know how much you love your air fryer.
But I already mentioned that last week as I primed the pump with that. So it's not the air. I will say it's not the air fryer.
Okay, but I know how much you love that thing.
That's true. Go get one, everybody.
That produces a product. Gosh.
Hey, I'm gonna have you turn up your microphone just a little bit more too.
Okay.
So all the people can hear you a little bit louder. Yeah, that's good. I like it.
All right. A machine that produces we're not on site today. For those wondering, we're mobile.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're remote today. So for those of you listening, it doesn't matter. Those of you watching. Man.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, because I'm thinking food for sure.
Yeah. You can definitely consume it.
Yeah, that means it's not food. You know what? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go out on a limb here. And I'm going to say, oh man, produces a product. This is tough. Because if you can consume it, but you probably shouldn't, but it can produce something in your house.
I wish this was like a live stream so we could be seeing all everybody's guesses right now.
Oh my gosh. Well, somebody would probably get it because people are brilliant.
Probably.
Me,
yeah.
however, when it comes to guessing stuff like this, I'm just trying to think. You consume it. You can consume it. Which
Yes.
the way you said it makes me think you shouldn't.
And it's absolutely I'm not saying it was like crazy expensive or anything, but it's absolutely just a luxury thing. It just makes something better, and it's a better experience. And once you have it, you're like, yeah, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back to the normal way.
I'm gonna go with an. I know this isn't right, but I don't really know what else. I'm gonna go with an espresso maker.
No, but it does help your drinks. It is a nugget ice machine.
Wow.
So you know that really nice ice that you get at like Chick-fil-A and Sonic, and it makes this really soft, like little ASMR for everybody. Oh, and it just runs all day long, basically making us nugget ice.
So do you just fill every glass with that now?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, water, sweet tea, little, if you need a little soda, our iced coffees in the morning.
See, that's my thing right there, the iced coffees.
Oh my gosh. It's seriously like we were back and forth because the machines can be a little pricey, but we made the purchase. I'm never looking back. I don't want to live without a
so you
nugget
guys are
ice
happy
machine.
with your purchase?
110%.
So let me tell you this. I drink a lot of this is a little information for the people out there. I drink a lot of lukewarm water. I just fill my cup up during the day, and I drink these vats like this cup. We get them at the stadiums. I just carry these around with me all day. These giant mugs, these giant cups.
Yeah,
I drink out of them nonstop. Just lukewarm water. I just tap water. I don't care.
Yeah.
So I don't drink a lot of stuff with ice. Now my iced coffees I'll make. Those right there, those little nuggets of beauty, they would definitely enhance my experience.
So good.
And you can't go wrong with good ice.
Nope.
It makes everything better. So I'm going to tell you, my product is consumable, and it's something that everybody should have in their home, and it's sweet. That's all I'm going to say.
Are you going to show us? Or you mean like I have to guess now?
No, you
or
don't
something?
have to guess. I'll show you.
Okay, yeah.
So for those of you out there,
I'm excited.
this is an item that as an adult you would never purchase if you don't have kids. And if you're an adult, you should purchase it, but it can be embarrassing maybe if you don't have kids because you're thinking, well, why would I purchase that? Because it looks like something only kids would have. But all adults should have this in your pantry.
Yeah.
And I had this the other day and I realized I just feel comfortable. It's a comfort thing knowing it's in my pantry and that it really can just be consumed at any point. And it's not overly overbearing with calories, but it's one of those things that I just feel like my house is complete within my cabinet.
Yeah.
Right here.
Oh,
Jet Puff
there you
marshmallow
go.
cream.
Marshmallow cream.
I don't really know what's going on with the manufacturer. But those of you that are watching, these labels are super crooked. I don't know if Jet Puff has seen his better days.
Yeah.
We don't have this ever in our house. And like my kids picked this out. I was like, where'd you get Jet Puff? My wife's like, they wanted it. And if you guys ever know, you ever Taffy Tan fudge, it's basically peanut butter and this stuff mixed up to make fudge.
Yeah.
And I love peanut butter.
Oh, yeah.
So like when I have ice cream, I'll throw peanut butter in it. And I'll throw a little bit of this and it hardens up with the peanut butter. It's just the best combination you've ever eaten in your life. But this sounds so simple, but I promise you, you will find ways to consume the Jet Puff if it's in your house.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but it just has made me very happy in the last 30 days. So
hey, it's
simple, guys.
It's delicious.
And the one reason I picked this item is because every one of you could run out to your local store and grab it today.
Yeah.
And your life would be better. It sounds so elementary, I know, but for weeks I've been like, I've got to share this.
Yeah.
Go get you some Jet Puff. Get you some Jet Puff.
You don't happen to put some of that in your peanut butter sandwich in the morning after you work out and dip it in chocolate milk, do you?
No, I do not.
Oh, you should try it. Yeah, that's
sugar.
true. But
well, let me see how much sugar it has. I don't know if this is right. It's 8 grams, which isn't too bad. Actually, it's only 45 calories for 2 tablespoons. That's what I'm saying.
That's basically all you need.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 tablespoons is a lot of Jet Puff.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what this stuff really takes the cake when you have hot chocolate. You throw a giant glob of this in there.
Oh, yes.
Nothing better. Marshmallows have nothing on this.
It needs to be fall and winter now.
Yeah, it does. And it says creamy cream recipes, fantasy fudge, chocolate cream frosting, or marshmallow fruit dip. Oh, jeez.
Oh, wow.
Thank you, Lord. You guys, there's not a more versatile product on the market than this. If there is,
there you go.
Try me.
Please sponsor us.
Try me. All right, so I'm going to sit on a topic here for a little bit. I would like to just there's something I want to talk about. There's a movie I saw on Netflix, and it was called The Big George Foreman. Have you heard of it?
I've heard of it. I've not watched it, but I've heard of it.
I wasn't really interested in watching it, but it was one of those nights where the Braves are getting beat pretty bad, and I was like, and it doesn't happen often. And I was like, yeah, I just don't feel like watching it right now. let's watch something on TV. And my wife's like, yeah, let's do it. So went over to Netflix, and again, there wasn't a lot of things I was interested in, but this movie had been sitting there for a week or two, and I was like, you know what? It's a biopic. Is that what they call it? Is it biopic or biopic?
Biopic.
I always ask that because it looks like the word's biopic, but
biopic sounds like something you'd do at the hospital.
You always wonder why people have trouble with the English language. It's because you can have the same word spelled the same way, and you say it two different ways depending on how it's used.
Yeah.
You feel me?
I do.
All right. That's a side note. But the big George Foreman. So we watched it, and I don't know. So my thought of George Foreman and then the movie are two very different things, because I knew he fought. I didn't really know he was a Christian or was a man of faith. I knew he fought and then left and came back, and I assumed it was a money thing, which it was. And then I didn't know that he won again. I just knew he came back, and I didn't know if it was a Cinderella story. So I really didn't know his story. But the way the story goes is, and this is a spoiler alert. So if you have not watched it and you want to, just cut it off, watch it, and come back and listen to the rest of the episode. But he started out as he was really, 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 really poor, and he just had a lot of anger in his life. According to the movie, there was no father around. It was his mom and his siblings. And so he goes through his life really angry, and he's just fighting all the time. And he goes to Job Corps, and one of the guys at Job Corps see like potential in this kid, like to box. So he starts boxing, and he gets really good. Starts to become pretty well known, and he's just so full of anger, though. Anyway, long story short, his mom's extremely religious. When I say extremely religious, she's prayer warrior. She believes in the move of God. She believes in God. She's a Christian. So I don't think extremely religious is the right word, but you see what I'm saying. Anyway, George Foreman goes throughout his life, and he's just really, really, really angry. And he's making a lot of money and things. And it comes to a place where his sister's in a hospital with, his little nephew, and he cries out to God. And the first time, really, because he don't even like praying before meals. He's just bitter. He's angry. Anyway, his sister makes it. Well, later on in the movie, after a fight that he had lost, he gets into the locker room, and the way the movie goes, he dies after a fight.
Jeez.
And in the movie, he cries out to God, and God brings him back to life in that locker room. So he has this huge life change, and he wants to preach. So he says, I'm going to be a preacher. So he opens up a church. He does all this. And for like 7 years, he's pastoring. And it was really cool because and this is really where Palms Church has been. And really, like, we've been preaching missional and all these things. 7 years in, a grandmother brings her grandson to him after a Sunday morning and says, hey, will you teach him how to box? And the grandson's like, man, I don't want to learn from him. He got beat by Ali. I want to learn from Ali, And I'm like, oh, wow, what a spoiled kid. George Foreman's right there. But anyway, George Foreman says, I don't fight anymore, blah, blah, blah. Well, anyway, the next day he sees on the news that this kid got arrested, or a couple days later. And he said, man, I didn't meet that kid where he was at. I expected him to come where I was at. So he opens up like a youth center, and it's just really cool the way the story unfolds. Well, he goes bankrupt. Basically, the guy managing all of his money had lied to him and had done some things and made some big risky bets with his money and lost it all. So George Foreman goes back to fighting, and his wife was scared because she was like, you told me you'd never do this again. I don't want the anger to come back. So he goes back to fighting, and his wife isn't crazy about it, but he goes back to fighting because he has no money.
Yeah.
Right. And he's a pastor. He's in love with God, all these things. So his wife has this dream one night that he's going to be that he's going to win the heavyweight title again. And and she's like, God gave me this vision. Anyway, he goes to the heavyweight title and he loses, but then 3 years later, he wins it, blah, blah. And, he sold off like George Foreman grills for like $137 million. And basically takes care of the youth center in his building. And there's a couple thoughts. One, I think a lot of times in our life, there's a situation that happens and we don't realize that God's actually using it to guide us. It's not necessarily a sign of failure. I mean, when he lost all of his money, he never would have gone back and fought and did what he had to do and won the heavyweight title again at 45 and defied the odds. And his wife told him, God's going to give you this platform because you'll glorify him on it. Like, he's going to make you a heavyweight champion again because he knows you're going to put his name on that platform.
Yeah.
At 45. He never would have went back and did that if he had all the money.
Yeah.
To him, he just wanted to run his youth center and pastor, but God had different plans. And so he ran out of money. And although it might not have been the way that it was supposed to be designed, God used it. He went back, and then years later, he won the heavyweight championship again. And now, his church and his community center and everything is taken care of, because they have money, which is awesome. But I really want to sit on the part where George Foreman, his whole life, there's something that really got me. And I think this is where I was at. And I think it's something that I think a lot of people can relate to that have been in the church. He was really, really angry and really, really bitter in his life. And he grew up fighting, and he just didn't want anything to do with God. It wasn't that he hated God. He just didn't want anything to do with God. Almost like, man, his life was really tough, and now it was good. But he's like, I did this. Like, I'm the one who fought. God didn't fight for me. I'm the one who earned this money. Why am I thanking God for the food? And I can say I can resonate with that. Having been sexually abused, having the things that took place in my life, I can tell you that ministry was something I never wanted to do. And something I've struggled with heavily. And that movie resonated with me because I felt what he felt in that. And he had that moment where he died and came back to life. And then when he was dying, he said, Lord, I don't want to die. And he came back to life. And at that moment, he went into the shower, took a shower. He said, I praise Jesus. Hallelujah. Like, he was just 110% in after that. Like, he had a moment with God. And I think it's that moment that a lot of people miss. Like, we want to know God. We want to go to church. We want to do all the right things, but we miss that moment where there's that radical transformation. It's not just, it's like there's a moment where we see that God is real. Because I think the reality is, I think we believe God's real. Maybe we just don't believe he's real to us, or that he's not been that intimate with us. Or, I mean, there could be a million different scenarios. But I can speak for myself in saying there's a lot of times you believe God for other people, you just don't believe him for you.
Yeah.
And George Foreman had this epiphany. And I think even a lot of people listening right now, you may have been like, man, I think I believe, or I believe him for others. I just have never had that epiphany type moment. And that was George Foreman. He never had that epiphany moment. But the minute he had a moment, just one moment with God, it changed the entire trajectory of his life. And so it's something that I just resonated with that movie because of that concept. You know?
Yeah. That's good.
I grew up in the church, and I had moments where I knew God was speaking to me or stirring my heart, or I felt like he loved me, or I had all those. But I think there's even moments now where I carry a lot of guilt and shame in my life. And I tell my wife, like, I feel a lot of shame, and there's no reason why. I just don't feel like, I don't know how to say it. Well, I do know how to say it. I'm just trying to say it in a way that people can understand it. Why would he do that for me? Or, I know people who have been through just life, you just carry a lot of shame, and you don't feel like you're ever worth it. But it's that feeling of you don't spend time with God the way you should because you don't want to hear what you think you don't want to hear. But God's not going to speak those things. He's a God of love. And so you're waiting for, I think a lot of people haven't had earthly dads that have been there. And so they associate that with heavenly fathers. Or if your earthly dad's been judgmental, you think God's judgmental. Or if your earthly dad has said hard things, you don't want to hear what God has to say because he's going to say hard things. Or if your earthly dad abandoned you, you don't want to talk to God because you feel like he's going to abandon you. Just all these emotions. You see what I'm saying? Or if your earthly dad doesn't have time, why is God going to have time? We can't understand God because we don't have anybody in our life that is God. Yeah. And so it's really those revelatory moments with God that help us understand who God is. I don't know. Yeah. This is just things that I've been sifting through as I, in my thoughts, because I know it's something that I've struggled with in my life. And if I'm not with God, you think, well, you're a pastor. It doesn't mean anything. It means that God's called me to something, and I don't ever want to do things in my own power. It means everything as far as what God's asked me to do. But I don't do this because it's a job. I do it because God told me it's a calling. I know he's there, but I absolutely have a lot of time where I just don't feel, I don't want to talk to God because I don't want to know what I've done wrong, because I feel like it's just going to be the old grandfather with a big stick beating your hands. And that's not who God is. Yeah. Or I feel a lot of shame for nothing in particular. I don't feel good enough, and so I can totally relate to where he was at in those feelings. And I think a lot of people can.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, even off of what you're talking about with the movie, but just my own life, I know your life, like so often those moments that you're talking about, they come from struggle. And so there has to be a willingness to struggle to get to those moments almost, and it's like, you're almost like, why do I have to struggle to get to those moments? I think about also the power of perseverance when, again, because I didn't really know George Foreman's story. So knowing that his wife had this vision that, you're going to have the heavyweight title again.
And she didn't want him to fight again. She said, you said you're never going to do this, because she was afraid his anger would come back that made him a great fighter to begin with. Or, it's all mental, but it was one of those things where he just wouldn't give up. You know what I mean? And that's why he became a great fighter.
But to go back that year and lose, but then go back the next year and go back the next year and go back, and not until like 3 years after to see the culmination of that vision. And so it's defeat after defeat after defeat.
Believing.
Yeah, and just persevering through that struggle to get to those kind of moments of revelation. And I mean, there's a whole lot of power in that.
Yeah, and I know for me, man, and I mean, I think a lot of people, I have to fight for my connection to God. A lot of people, I think, would assume they can discredit you because you're a pastor. There's a lot of days I'm like, why do I not want to pray? Why do I not want to listen to worship? Why do I not want to read my Bible? Why do I not want to draw close to God? And it's because you're afraid as you draw close to him, it's going to be a lot of correction, a lot of sternness, a lot of this is what you've done wrong, a lot of you're already feeling shameful. So you feel like when you get close to God, you're going to just feel more shameful.
Yeah.
And that's not the way it works. That's Satan telling you things that aren't true, so that you'll stay away from the only thing that has the power to heal your life, which is God and the local church.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what I struggle with. If you don't, and I think that's why dads are so important too. Having 4 boys, I believe that's such a grace of God on my life. But that's why dads, you guys are so important, because not that moms are too, don't get me wrong, but you will relate to God in the way you relate to your earthly father.
Yep.
It's that simple.
Mm-hmm.
And people who haven't had that relationship, you're going to struggle a lot more than people who have.
Yeah.
And just like y'all, I mean, I have tons of time where I go through things and then I come back and you relapse where you're bitter about why did I have to experience that? Why do I hear that all the time? People are like, well, why did this have to happen? Why did that have to happen? It's like, first of all, I don't know. I'm not God. But second of all, God doesn't create hurt. He doesn't create harm. He didn't do the sin. It's just we're living in a world where the devil exists and sin exists. And so God said he'll never leave us, but it doesn't mean we're never going to have to experience pain or death at a young age or hard times. But I just want to be an encouragement to people that are in that place where you don't really want to serve God. You don't want to talk to him. Like, we've made God into a part of culture.
Yeah.
That's a choice and an option. It's like everything's a click down menu. What kind of person am I going to be? What kind of job am I going to do? What kind of car do I want to drive? Do I want to be a hip person? Do I want to be like the dad that wears like the dad clothes? Do I want to be, like all these drop down menus? And when it comes to, and then there's a drop down menu and it says religion. Do I want to be a Buddhist? Do I want to be a Muslim? Do I want to be a Christian? God is not a drop down menu. God is not a part of your choices. He is everything. And until we have those revelatory experiences with God, we'll never understand that. Because what happens is God is above all the drop down menus. And then you pick based on your relationship with him and everything changes and gets better. But we make him a part of things instead of the thing. And I've been as guilty of this as anybody. But I know for me, it's because of the sheer volume of guilt and shame in my life that I have had to endure to get to the point I'm in. I mean, there's days I feel like I have to fist fight my way into freedom. People with mental health think, oh, you kind of get through it. No, you never get through it. You never get through it. You learn how to fight it and you become better at fighting it to where it doesn't feel like it did. But it's not that I wake up every day struggling depression. I don't. It's not that I wake up every day struggling anxiety. I don't. I used to. So you're like, well, you're through it. No, you have. It's almost like people who have been overweight and they can't even make it up the stairs. I know recently Shaquille O'Neal, he has lost a ton of weight. He said he couldn't even make it up the stairs. He just had a hip replacement. He works out every day, does like 20 minutes of cardio, has his whole workouts online. And he was saying basically he had to do something because he just couldn't even, he was exhausted walking upstairs. So now there's a new way of life. He loves it, but he wakes up energized. He's eating better. His diet is different. He can make it up and down the steps. He's doing a lot of cardio. That's what it's like when you live for God. You have a revelation that inspires you to change the way you're living life, your approach to life. And you start to be able to make it up those stairs when you couldn't. You start to be able to build that grit to where when you have to lift something heavy, now you're not stressing because you built the muscle to do it. And we act like God just everything fades away, that wouldn't be God. That would be a magician. And there are times that miracles will happen, but I promise you, when it comes to the things you struggle with the shame, the guilt, the depression, the procrastination that really is tied to sometimes more mental health than it is your character.
Yeah.
It's going to take consistent grit. It's going to take a daily. I don't wake up every day and say, today I'm not going to be depressed. Today I'm not going to be anxious. There were years where I did that. But now there are things in my life, they're not just rhythms, but there are things that I have built those muscles to where I could go back into a deep depression tomorrow if I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Some people would say, well, depression is not a choice. Well, for me, it is. Maybe for some that's true. I could very easily put myself into a depression any day that I want to.
Yeah.
I could. And I would venture to say most people could.
Yeah.
Do I think there are some legit chemical? Yes, everything's chemical, 100%. But I know for me, I could put myself into a deep depression today if I wanted to, and it could go as long as I wanted it to go. And a lot of people don't realize that's the power we have in the way that we approach our life. You know? And when I look at this story about George Foremon, and he was dead in the locker room and he came back to life and he had this epiphany with Jesus, it wasn't that, he said, Jesus is in me. It wasn't that all of a sudden, well, Jesus was real. It's that he realized Jesus was real. His thoughts changed. His passion changed. His hope changed. His joy changed. His mindset changed. His processing changed. His passion, everything about him changed for the rest of his life because of one experience with God. And we're always trying to fine tune and self-help. That's not going to change us. We need those revelatory experiences with God where you have a hope today and forever that you didn't have a moment ago.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
people are like, how did you make it out? It's the hope every day that I know is bigger. You know what I'm saying? It's a hope that is bigger. And so, yeah, man, this movie, honestly, anytime there's faith involved in a movie, it stirs me because when Jesus is involved, I love to hear people's stories.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's where my heart is sitting today. You know, I want that for people, that even those who are like, it just ain't my thing. Like, why not? Why isn't it your thing?
Yeah.
You know, those revelatory experiences change everything. You know?
Good.
So I just hope for a lot of people, they will lock into that and give God a chance, man. I still am in those places. A lot of you that are listening, maybe you're not even there, but there's days I'm like that. And I don't really want to do anything. And I'm kind of pushing God away because I'm struggling with life and I'm frustrated. And you're thinking, well, your first thing should be to go to God. It should be. But just like everybody else, I'm a human.
Yeah.
And I think it makes us, it helps us relate whenever we can say, yeah. And, you know, Jesus says he relates with us. He's been through everything we've been through, but yet he was a victor and he can relate to our pain. And yet he showed us that with God's help and with the Spirit of God, you can overcome anything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's good.
And so I think that's just something that I think people that are listening today, like, well, what do I do? I think that's a question I'm trying to answer. So I don't know that I can tell you what to do. I think I can tell you what not to do, and that's close the lines of communication.
Yeah.
Because epiphany moments will take you to the next epiphany. At some point, you got to believe.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's got to change for you. So I just hope that people will heed that and know that, like, guilt and shame really runs a lot of our lives, and discouragement. Most people sit there. That's where most people live. And it breaks my heart because I hate to see people live there, but then I realize I live there a lot too. And I get really bitter about things I had to go through in my life. I get really bitter about sticking your neck out and trying to help people that don't care. But then you realize, like, what is it really about? You know, the human side cannot be the voice. It has to be the spirit, because humanity will just make you bitter. And so sometimes I'm like, well, Lord, if I'm struggling financially, are you trying to open up a door to something else? And see, for me, I'm always like, well, I've done something wrong. God's going to expose me publicly for me being disobedient. And you might say, well, what is that? I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But that's when you think of God as like the great disciplinarian instead of the God who loves you with all of his heart.
Yeah.
And discipline doesn't look like exposure. Discipline looks like intimacy.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? Whereas George Foremon lost it all, and he ended up going to fight and getting another heavyweight. He never would have done that if he hadn't lost it all.
Yeah. And you come to some conclusion too that it's like, how much we just beat ourselves up, and it's like
a ton.
And somehow we portray that onto God as if, yeah, like you said, like I'm being judged, or it's because I did something wrong. And I think you get to those sweet moments with God, and he's like, it's not anything you did. It's not like, I just love you. And yeah, those revelations, they help you move forward by viewing yourself more and more as God sees you. Again, it doesn't mean that we don't have to change. It doesn't mean, I think that's the power of faith, is it's, and salvation is when we come to God and we give our lives to God, much like, why our marriage is a picture of Christ and his bride, the church, is I want to change. I want to grow. I want to get closer to you. I want to see myself more like you see me, because that is a better version of me. But so often, the always the first hurdle to get over is yourself. And you have to stop beating yourself up so much, and learn how to become motivated by it rather than self-deprecating. And so I'm right there with you. I mean, I struggle with the same things. I struggle with that inner monologue that absolutely is from myself and the enemy, and guilt and shame, and I can't measure up. I'm not good enough. But when you sit in those moments with God, God is like, I just love you. And like, if you're with me, well, yeah, let's walk together. Like, let's figure it out together. I don't know. Let's grow together, develop together, get better together.
I think that message you're saying is really the most powerful one that we just bypass. Like, yeah, we know you love us, but it's like, no, there's no but. And that's what Pastor Casey this weekend at Palms preached that, of like the most powerful message we can do for the world. And I mean, that was powerful. And it's like, why was that message so powerful? Casey asked me, she's like, it was just before she preached, it's like, this is such a basic message and it feels so routine. It doesn't feel like but it feels so powerful. And I was like, but that's why, because it is the basics.
Yep.
Like love, and the power of the church is in the love that we show the world. The church can love to a way the world can't. Yeah. And when I flew over to Israel, I was in the middle of my, for those who don't know that are listening, like when I went through years of suicidal depression, childhood PTSD, all kinds of things. And I was in the middle of that. I flew over to Israel for a 10-day tour of Israel. And on my way over, I had about panic attacks the entire way. Nobody knew, but I was on the plane having panic attacks for like 12 straight hours. And I remember my thought was, I had gone through so much that it wasn't even scared to death. I was like, I just don't care anymore. I said, if I die on the way over here, I don't care. If I die while I'm over here, I don't care. I'm just not going to keep living like I've been living. And I knew God gave me the opportunity. The pastor I grew up under opened up the opportunity for me to fly over there, and it was first class, like accommodations, 5-star, everything. Like he hooked a bunch of pastors up, like 100 pastors. And we went on this trip, and it was amazing. And I was standing in the Garden of Gethsemane where Jesus prayed the night that he was betrayed before he got arrested. And I was looking at Jerusalem from the hill where Jesus would have, around the area they would have been, but I was with these old olive trees. It's just what you picture. Yeah. And I was staying there, and they gave us 20 minutes each. They said, y'all just go 20 minutes each and just worship. I mean, can you imagine 20 minutes just worshiping in the garden? It was awesome. It was so cool. And I was staying there, and the whole time I'm praying, I'm worshiping. I'm just listening to God, and they wasn't really saying anything. And right before we got done, he's like, hey, we're going to gather back. The Lord just said, I love you. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, God, I flew 12 hours, overwhelmed, about ready to die. Been going through crap for 3 years. It took everything I had to get the energy to get here. I'm standing in the garden where you prayed to your Father, tell him to take the cup from you as you sweat drops of blood. And you're going to tell me the epiphany is, I love you. And God told me when that's enough is when you'll be healed.
Wow.
When that is enough. And honestly, I think there are times it's still not. And that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
There's days where it doesn't feel like enough because I don't fully understand it, because I haven't had those. I need some more revelation sometimes. I believe he loves you. I believe he loves everybody listening, but there's no way he loves me like that.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
And I just think for all those people out there that doubt it, you're not alone, but it doesn't change what God feels about you.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you don't believe it doesn't change what he actually is. Because on that same trip, I walked to the place where Jesus was, they wanted to push him over the cliff near Nazareth. And that moment was where they wanted to kill him. The next moment I was in was where they took him to kill him. And it didn't change who he was.
Yeah.
It's powerful. You know what I mean?
It's good.
So, hey, final thought.
Here's my final thought.
That never gets old. Homage to old John Madden, one of the greats. Malls, I read this article the other day. I love shopping malls.
Yeah.
I don't know how people love them, but that's like my sweet spot. When I want to chill, I've said it before, I love going to the mall. You like the mall?
I do like the mall, yeah.
It's just something about it. It's nothing like and we said it before, when you smell Cinnabon or Annie Ann's, let's go.
The pretzel twister. I said it before. Go get a pretzel from Pretzel Twister.
I've never seen that place.
It's amazing.
I'm actually going to the mall today.
Get some bites, the little small bite. Dude, they're so good.
Yeah, I'm actually headed there today, man. My parents, it's like a late birthday thing. They're going with Casey. Nice. I wanted to do something for my birthday, so we're going to the mall. I love the mall. I love going to the mall. But anyway, and the mall down here is legit. There's no like open stores. It's like packed all the time.
Yep.
Like, the Virginia Beach malls, it doesn't matter what day of the week, it's packed. And it's a good mall.
Yep.
So anyway, all that to say, malls aren't dead. And I read this article, and it was talking about how people are gravitating back to malls, and so people love the online, but they love shopping malls. And I've always said it: you can do all the outlets you want, but there is something about a mall that it will never get old, because it is what it is.
It's community.
Yes, you nailed it.
Come on,
you nailed it. You wrote the article, and
I actually didn't know, but that's what it is.
That's what it is.
Yes,
people love the feeling of being inside of a community.
Yes,
with others.
I live somewhere with people. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Enough said. Enough said. Y'all, you need community.
I love it.
Whatever that looks like. Get into a community that's healthy, that can help carry you, that believes and can help pray you through whatever God has. And if you can't find one, Palms Church, we're online and in person, but anywhere. Find a church, find a place, find a community. We love you guys. Thank you for listening. Lord, I pray for each and every listener. I pray that you watch over them. I pray that they would know you're with them. I pray against the spirit of guilt and shame. I pray they would know there is no condemnation in Christ Jesus. Pray they would know you see them, your hand is on them, and that, God, you are beckoning them, and you are always there ready to listen. We love you, and we thank you. Everybody said, amen. Hey, we love you guys. Have a great rest of your week. 9:30 Sunday, Palms Church, online and in person. We'll see y'all then. Love you guys. Kickoff weekend.